I'm just a kid that loves to sing country and write country songs, and I've done that for as long as I can remember. Growing up in Scotland was great. I grew up in a small little house with my mum and dad and my brother. Music was always a part of my life, and my mum always taught me from as long as I can remember. She would say to me, you know, there's a whole world out there, and when you grow up, go and get it. Dad used to work 3 jobs, so he'd work as a motor mechanic in the morning, sell cars in the afternoon, and in the evenings he would look after nightclubs, so he would be security. And I remember on a Saturday morning, my grandfather owned this garage on the outskirts of Edinburgh, and my dad was playing Jackson by Johnny Cash, and he was blaring it through these speakers. I remember I heard that train beat, and I was like, wow. And I felt that Johnny Cash's voice was so captivating. And I think that's the first time, honestly, I must have been 5 or 6 years old, that I paid attention to something lyrically. That's when I definitely fell in love with country music. That moment was a turning point in my life, because that's when I picked up the guitar, and that's when I started to really, you know, hone in my craft. Growing up in Scotland, I was obviously exposed to a lot of folk music, both Scottish and Irish. There's such a correlation between Scottish folk music and country music. I've lived in a million places. I never felt like any of these places were home. And because I grew up in rural Scotland, small little town, 6,000 people, farming and fishing town, I was never able to settle in these bigger cities. You know, Stockholm and London, they just weren't for me. And when I moved to Nashville, and I realized, wow, immediately that this is not that different from home. The South in Scotland, the people are so similar. Hospitality, Southern hospitality. I got a call one day from the BBC saying, hey, we have seen a video of you and we'd love you to come and be on one of our television shows. And it was called Let It Shine. And it was very similar to, if not the equivalent of, The Voice that's in the US. Fast forward a year of my life, I actually came 3rd on that show. So I came off that show and I went back to Edinburgh, and I was living back with my mum and dad. And the evening that I came back to Edinburgh, you know, we went out for a drink and we were celebrating, and my dad just said to me, this is your time and you need to go to Nashville. I got this little Airbnb in Laverne. I started playing on Broadway, and I did that roughly for about 2 years. What it taught me was how to write a song. When you see a song react with a crowd, and that's where I learned so much about country. I learned about structures of country music, what lyrics impact people, what type of song impacts people. If it wasn't for Broadway, I don't even know if I would be here today. So I'm very grateful for my first ever job in Nashville, Tennessee, playing on Tootsie's rooftop. Come on. My EP, which I have titled It Is What It Is, because that's just me, and it's a collection of 5 songs, and it is honestly unapologetically myself. Again, you're going to hear so much influence in this record. Early Keith Urban, definitely storytelling like Johnny Cash. There's real stories in this. It's all my personal story. This is the best representation of myself as an artist and who I am, and for what's to come down the line. And I honestly, hand on heart, could not be more proud. And guess what? It is what it is. So it's unapologetically myself.